The pledge.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your weekly Board of Selectmen's meeting. The date is June 6th, 2018. This is a special meeting we're having this week. At this time, I'd just like to mention that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. It will be streamed live on Channel 9. It will be replayed on Channel 9 and also placed on YouTube. And at this time, I ask that everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, while we're all standing, I would like to mention that today is the 74th anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy invasion. And I would also like to mention that this is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. I think those of us that were here 50 years ago remember that event. And probably most of the people in this room were not here when the D-Day invasion took place, but certainly maybe one of the reasons why we are all here is because that invasion took place and so many Americans and Allied troops were killed, so that today we could all be here and we remember them. So I ask for a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Goulart. And at this time, as is customary, public input. We have some public here. Would anybody like to say anything? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you mind just your name and your address, please?
My name is Kelsey. I live in Rainham. I'm doing my annual car show for cancer I've been doing the last 5 years here. I'm looking to use the location on June 10th, Sunday, from 3 to 7, with setup being from noon to 3, and we clean up right after and take everything and go.
And your organization is?
I do it for the American Cancer Society. I have my own personal team.
But on your
It's the Team Butterflies of Hope.
Butterflies for Hope.
Yes.
Okay.
The car show is called Cruising for a Cure.
And you spoke to Parks and Rec?
I've gotten all the signatures that I need for everything.
All right.
Everybody's approved.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No. She just suggested.
Yep. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, you see that?
Yep.
I move that we grant permission to Cruisin' for a Cause to use the field on June the 10th for an auto show.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Congratulations. You're welcome.
That's it.
Thank you. Do we need to sign both?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will be there. Thank you for
Awesome.
inviting me.
Thank you.
They did invite us as well.
Oh, that's
Yes,
good.
it's so much fun. Please come
What are
out.
the hours again?
3 to 7. There's raffles and DJs. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So
And it's open to the public,
Open to
anyone
the
can
public.
come,
Yeah,
so,
it's free to the public. You just have to register if you're showing a car.
Mhm.
It's $15 a day of show if you're registering a car.
would you like us to make that announcement as well?
Sure.
Okay. We will do
We
that.
would appreciate that.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you. I did cancer research as a postdoc, so it's near and dear to my heart, so it will be an honor to be there.
Oh, thank you.
You're very
All
welcome.
the money that we get from admission goes to the American Cancer Society. Anything we get from raffles, every year I pick one family that has a child that's going through cancer, and we get them gas cards to go back and forth to treatments, or, you know, food cards if they need food that week.
so it's family support.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
Yes.
Yep.
Very good.
Well, I look forward to it, and thank you. Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
that you
Thank
do.
you so much.
You're very welcome.
We'll see you on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're very
You're welcome.
welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Anybody else want to give public input at this time? All right. At this time, I'm going to yield the floor to our Town Administrator, Mallory Arnstein, for the weekly Town Administrator's Report.
Great. Thank you. Good evening. So I was a judge this past weekend at Cowchip, which was one of the greatest days ever. We had a blast. My 2 boys and I came, and we had such a good time. So thank you, Lions Club. A official thank you note is in the mail. But part of my judgely duties is to wear this shirt. So here it is.
Give her a break.
Try to professionalize it a little bit. I am wearing heels, if that helps. Okay. So my report here is actually contingent upon town meeting, and we didn't get to this part at town meeting. I was going to see, based on whatever the decision was, what the next steps were for the Nathaniel Crane House. So because there was no vote, I don't have anything to report, other than town meeting has been continued to June 13th at 6 p.m. in the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School Auditorium. It is a different location than the first half of the meeting, so just to make that distinction, and I hope to see you there. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Madam Administrator. At this time, we'll move on to old business, and the first piece of old business are Selectmen's appointments. And our first appointment is for a gentleman I believe we all know, Mr. Tom Ferry. I don't know if you have that. And it's for the Joint Transportation Planning Group, which I believe is a branch or a part of SERPID.
This is actually a really important part of SERPID because it can help push along projects for Dighton intersection improvements, and if you have membership on the board, you just keep an eye on that and keep it in the pipeline. So thank you, Mr. Ferry, for stepping up. This is a big deal.
Another title for Mr. Ferry. Another unpaid job. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Tom Ferry as the representative for the town to the Joint Transportation Planning Group.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. I'm still right, sorry.
No, it's okay. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Ferry.
And thank you.
And thank you, absolutely.
Gonna get a bigger door.
Yeah. And now we can move on to our, customary appointments. I'm going to let you make the motions.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to do these by groups, if it's multi-members to one committee or board or something, so. This would be, first of all, I make a motion that we appoint Karen Brady, Administrative Assistant and Office Manager of the Board of Selectmen.
I'm going to happily step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Congratulations, Mrs. Brady.
I assume you're willing to.
Yeah, we should have asked.
She doesn't have a choice. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. The next list of names will be agents to the Board of Health. Helen Cadillac, Kevin Bernardo, Todd Pilling, Susanna Medeiros, Pamela Waller, James Aguiar Jr., Alice Souza.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Just wanted to mention this is an annual appointment, as was Mrs. Brady's. Further discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Congratulations, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint James Aguiar Jr., agent to the Board of Selectmen.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Can I just ask, what does this do?
I don't know.
It allows me to enforce the general bylaws.
Oh,
It's a pretty
okay.
important one.
Thank God you're
Okay,
here, Jim.
Thank you. Makes you
All
sound
right.
like a, I don't know, like a special something.
Yeah, we should give you a badge.
Pretty
for
cool.
that.
It does deserve a badge.
Or a target.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. The ayes have it. And that, again, is a year appointment.
Yeah, they'll all be annual unless we specifically state it's for a different term. Mr. Chairman, I nominate Jonathan Gale to the American with Disabilities Act Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Stacy Ferry, Animal Control Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Now, Assistant Municipal Liaison, are we looking for somebody for that position? Okay. Members of the Board of Health, Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Kevin Bernardo, Matthew Tanis, and Thomas Pius to the Board of Health.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? I just wanted to add, I know the Board of Health is just a little bit over a year old from being separated from the Board of Selectmen, and I just wanted to thank not just the Board of Health members, but the entire department for a job well done. Further discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. The ayes have it.
The next three appointees are to our Board of Registrars, and each is a 3-year term. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Mary Jane Kingsland, Susan Lorenz, Cheryl Wick for 3-year terms expiring June 30th, 2019, the Board of Registrars.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but only Mary Jane
Yeah.
is up for reappointment.
Miss Lawrence
Oh, I
expires
see.
2020 and
They're
Miss Wick.
staggered terms, I didn't
Yep.
realize that. So I strike that, I withdraw that motion. Mr. Chairman, I nominate, I move that we appoint Mary Jane Kingsland to a 3-year position on the Board of Registrars.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes and the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move to nominate myself, Nancy Goulart, to be the Bristol County Advisory Board member from the town of Dighton.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
What this is the county has an advisory board that attends meetings to discuss and approve things like their annual budget. We were involved with the bond issue for the expansion of the school. So it's not a job that there's a lot of meetings, usually 2 a year, but each town or city in the county must have someone appointed to attend the meetings.
And I'm going to thank you for your service on this board, and I know you had the presentation and the discussion of the expansion project. You voted for it, and you've done Dighton proud, so
Thank you.
you're very welcome. Further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate James D. Aguirre Jr., Building Commissioner, and Glenn J. Hathaway, Assistant Building Commissioner.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. You've been doing a good job too, Mr. Commissioner. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate the following individuals to be burial agents: Arthur Morton, Pamela Waller, and Susanna Medeiros.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hopefully they won't be too busy. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Laura Medeiros and David Marvel to 5-year terms on the Cable Television Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job down there, and we appreciate it. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
The next group of individuals, and there's quite a list here, Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following members to the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board: Matthew Tanis, Mallory Arnstein, Kenneth Pacheco, Christopher McGee, Robert Woods, Brett Sagrafis, Robert McDonald, Kathleen Spencer, and as an alternate member, Timothy Rhines.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? I wanted the public to know, most of our work has pretty much been done. We made recommendations to the appropriate boards in an advisory capacity before issues were considered at the town meeting, but I did think it was best just to keep the committee going if something comes up and we're needed. So that's why we're doing that tonight. Further discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Brenda Moynihan to a 5-year term on the Capital Outlay Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? I actually just have one question. Ms. Moynihan is new on this, correct?
I actually was under the impression that there was only one person on this and the rest were vacant, so this was surprising. I also thought it was just a 1-year term, due to...
I know for a fact that Mr. Rendon has been on it for quite
Yes,
a
for the
while.
Finance
Right.
Committee, yes. And
Oh, he
Mr.
was the one that you
That's
knew
right,
of? Okay,
exactly.
I understand.
But I asked about it early on, and that's what I just came away looking at.
I know they were looking for members
This
because
is-
we send out the emails.
She was just appointed, it was recently.
Recently.
Yeah.
Okay,
today.
so maybe,
She was appointed in 2014.
Okay.
And it's,
Oh, it was 2014? Oh, okay.
in any case, I think Mr. Rendon and I talked about this.
I think they have vacancies.
They do.
Yes.
Because we send out the emails every week and they're all, Capital Outlay is always seeking new members.
This will just come up again.
Yep. All right. And we'll appoint people throughout the year who are interested. Further discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we appoint Chris Chandonnet to a 3-year term on the Cemetery Commission.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Chris, I just want to thank you for stepping up when we were looking for somebody to serve and convinced you to volunteer for the remaining unexpired term. So evidently you enjoy the work, so thank you for agreeing to be reappointed.
And I second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to be communications operators. Paul Reed, Communications 911 Director/Dispatcher. Teresa Costa, Communications Dispatch Liaison. Teresa Costa, Communications Dispatcher. Paul Bowden, Communications Dispatcher. Adam Foss, Communications Dispatcher. Vanessa Smith, Communications Dispatcher.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Just wanted to say you're all doing a fantastic job. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint David Marvel to a 3-year term on the Community Preservation Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint James Digits and John Crawford to 3-year terms on the Conservation Commission.
I am going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following list of individuals to be constables. Ian Daly, Matthew Pollux, Rachel Raposa, Tyler Medeiros, Thomas Medeiros, Daniel Lowney, Susanna Medeiros, Louis Borges Jr.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. I believe, if I'm correct, Mrs. Brady, we also received, so this would be, if we pass the motion as is, we would be appointing 8 constables. We do have 2 more interested parties, so what do you think about that? Do you think we need 2 more?
Well, I think when you appoint them, that means they can act on behalf of your town, so it's nothing, it's not gonna hurt anything. to
I
have-
agree.
Could I have the names,
Yep.
please?
And this is also for a one-year term, correct, Mrs. Brady?
Yes.
Okay.
Two appointees would be Jonathan Leal.
Leal?
Yep. And she'll go to the time. Stephen Joshua Pack, P-A-C-K.
Thank you, Mrs. Brady. Should we?
Mr. Chairman, I wish to add the names of Jonathan Leal and Stephen Joshua Pack to the list of constables and recommend that we appoint them with the others.
I'm going to happily second that motion. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, Mrs. Brady.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Gloria Johnston to a 5-year term on the Council on Aging.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Joseph Figueredo to the Development and Industrial Commission for a 5-year term.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Do they also have that commission, they have a vacancy?
They actually don't. We looked into this a little bit further, and there's only supposed to be 5 members on the board, so we're not going to boot anybody off, but just as they decide not to continue their service in that capacity.
I thought they
but
could have up to 9.
It was how they were accepted, so the state law says that, but how they were accepted at town meeting, it was 5.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Allison Roach to a 3-year term on the Dighton Cultural Council.
It says 2019 on here.
Oh, sorry.
It is 3 years, though?
Typo.
Okay.
Yes, it's 3 years.
Thank you, Selectman Goulart. I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Nancy Goulart to the Dighton Water District Water Resources Board of Trustees.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Oh, excuse me, that's a 3-year appointment.
All right. Further discussion? Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Donald Hershey, Director of Veteran Services.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Don, Mr. Hershey, excuse me, you're doing a fantastic job. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the DR Advisory Finance Committee: Robert Rendon, Nancy Goulart, Edward Swartz.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Thomas Ross, Electrical Inspector, and Kevin Smith, Assistant Electrical Inspector.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following individuals be appointed to the Emergency Preparedness Committee:
We have to do the Emergency Management Director first.
Right, I was going to list him first, because the others are just the committee members, right? Okay. Christopher McGee, Emergency Management Director. Robert McDonald, Emergency Preparedness Committee Member. Thomas Pyers, Emergency Preparedness Committee Member. James Aguiar Jr., Emergency Preparedness Committee Member. All of the following are going to be Emergency Preparedness Committee members. Christopher McGee, Todd Pilling, Thomas Ferry, Bethany Collins, and non-voting liaison, Mallory Arnstein.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
Yes, there's supposed to be the chairman of the Board of Selectmen here. Where are you?
That actually was removed by recommendation of the Emergency Management Committee, and then it was sent over here. I'm not sure on the exact date.
It's a Board of Selectmen appointment. Only the selectmen can remove somebody, so that appointment stands. They are a subcommittee of the Board of Health. But when they came here and we had that discussion about who was going to serve and who wasn't, they opposed increasing the committee, but it passed. And therefore, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, whoever holds the office, is appointed to it. So in order to change it, they would have to come back and ask the selectmen to consider it, because it's a selectman's appointment.
I believe that they did with a memo, but I'll have to verify the meeting and look that up, but I'll get that information.
Okay,
and
so
double-check
I'm
it.
going to add chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Brett Zagrafis, for now, and if the board changes based on anything. So the Selectman Zagrafis is also being appointed to the Emergency Preparedness Subcommittee.
I seconded that already? I believe I did. I'll step down and second it again. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
The next one is, Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Jonathan Gale, Equal Employment Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Carol Beauregard, Pamela Waller, Joseph Sylvia Jr. Isn't it supposed to be fence viewers and field drivers? Isn't that the
They're
title?
two different,
Yeah, I've only
those
ever
are
seen
two
it
different
fence viewers.
positions.
Okay. Where's the appointments for field drivers? These are alphabetical.
I don't remember field
I know that
drivers.
they're two different, they're from colonial times, actually.
Right,
So,
but I believe they're in the town
Right.
report with a slash.
okay.
So
So these poor people do both, and the assessors? Oh, geez, okay.
the Board of Assessors, in effect, are our fence viewers and slash field drivers, because I remember somebody saying, what does that really mean?
Do you
So,
want to do it as like a slash
yes,
type thing?
so, Mrs. Brady, I'm going to just correct this, that the motion is to appoint Carol Beauregard, Pamela Waller, and Joseph Sylvia Jr., fence viewers slash field drivers for the town.
I hope they're good drivers. I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say what it does, if
Absolutely.
anybody wants to
Yeah.
know. They, if there's like a loose cattle or animal,
I've used them a
they
couple times. I didn't know
corral
that.
them back.
Okay.
Township judges.
Yeah, well, if we become a right to farm community, they might be busy. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Susanna Maderas to be the town's film liaison.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Madam
What does
Administrator.
that, I do have a, how did
Is she
you
a
know?
director?
I don't know what that is. What does that do?
I think it was the last, not 2015, but I think going back to when I was on between 2007 and 10, there is an agency at the state level that likes to have information about communities, so that if someone is looking for a site to do filming of a movie, there's a contact person in town. And way back when,
That makes sense.
the town clerk was appointed, and each year we just do it again.
At that time, that makes a lot of sense. At that time, they were rolling out a lot of tax credits for filming. That makes perfect sense for the
And I
time
think it was
period.
also the time, I think they used part of, was it Taunton State Hospital? They were making
Yes.
a movie.
It was a Dennis Lehane novel, yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio was in it. It wasn't a very good movie. I can't remember what it's called.
But it wasn't Titanic, right?
No, it wasn't
Okay.
Titanic. But they did. They used Taunton State Hospital.
Right, scary things.
Yeah.
And violent things.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher McGee, Fire Chief.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? You're doing a great job, Chief. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Congratulations, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint John Crawford, Forest Master.
Oh, I like that title. I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the 40B Committee: Kenneth Pacheco, Thomas Pyers, Alice Souza, and Charles Mello.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. I actually have a question for Mr. Pacheco, since you're in the audience. I know Ms. Baki was on that committee. Is the 40B committee looking for another member, or is the committee fine with 4?
I think we're fine with 4. We haven't met for a little while, so I'll talk to Mr. Pius.
All right, if something changes, you can send us a letter. You have to find an interested party, of course. Okay.
Should I ask, do we have any pending
Pending what?
40Bs?
Well, we haven't actually got the application, but we got a request.
Okay.
That request for eligibility, and you've been dealing with that.
Yes.
So-
There's a site visit on June 14th, actually, so
Okay.
we'll be,
So any that we have had have been resolved, I'll say, either approved or whatever. They're in the process?
There's one in litigation that the town's not involved in.
Okay.
And that's been about 15 years, and at some point it's going to come back to us. But we have 4 active 40Bs right now. Pines is going to complete this year. Stony Ridge and Dighton with Circle should complete next year, and I don't know if Stonegate will ever complete, so, across the street. So we have 4 active ones right now.
Okay, is the one, without mentioning names, is the one that's been in litigation between, let me say, the Chase Street, Tremont Street?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher Costa, Gas Appliance Inspector, and Ed Majewski, Assistant Gas Appliance Inspector.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Erin Ferry to the GATRA Advisory Board Representative of the Disabled Commuter Population.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Ronald Smith as a general volunteer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher Reddy to be the Graves Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the next list of individuals are to serve on the Green Communities Grant Committee. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher Chandonnet, Daniel Agiu, Vicky Piazza, Jonathan Gray, Brett Zagrafis, Jason Quinn, and James Aguirre Jr., an ad hoc member to the Green Communities Grant Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
Any question?
Sure.
Is Mr. Gray a resident of Dighton?
Nope. He lived here most of his life, but he lives in Taunton.
Okay.
You don't have to be a Dighton resident to be appointed. You have to be a Dighton resident to be elected. Further discussion. All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Ronald E. Marino, Harbor Master, Mark Duffy, and Alexander Sambalesti, Assistant Harbor Masters.
I am going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Okay. Hearing clerk, are we looking for a hearings clerk?
Just one point of clarification. If someone could send me, or we can work on it together, Madam Administrator, a list of all the positions we're looking for so we can actually get that out to the public so we can
And
get these
a
positions
little
filled.
description on some of these, especially that one,
Absolutely.
and some of the others we have, that,
As like job duties or?
yeah, just to, and what they have to do.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Historical Commission: Joanne Racine, Kenneth Pacheco, an alternate member, Pamela Nickerson, and these are 3-year appointments.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Stacy Ferry, Inspector of Animals, that is not a local appointment, that's a Commonwealth appointment. And she, what happens is each year, and Mrs. Brady, would you make a note to see what we have on file, because that must be coming up. What happens is, I believe a form goes in and it's signed by a town official, and they make the appointment at the state. So, but we just need to make sure that whenever the deadline is, we get her appointed before it expires. I know there's more to this one because they have to inspect her record book for all the inspections she does and what she's required to keep. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next group of individuals for the Insurance Advisory Committee. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Insurance Advisory Committee: Thomas Medeiros, Gary Sanson, Mary Hathaway, Tina Braga, Christopher McGee, Gary Willett, Phyllis Haskell, Paul Reed, and Dennis Hazel.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
It looks like we've got one vacancy on that committee for an alternate.
We'll add that to the list.
The other thing I think,
Does that have to be, is that like I feel like that might be a union, it's like a health insurance?
this is the insurance committee that we met with when we were talking about making changes to the plan, and also the
Yes.
the holidays, the premium holidays we had. I did mention Mr. Sanson. I think he was appointed to be the representative from retirees, but the letter that came out, or the article that came out in the Mass Municipal Beacon, when they talked about town of Dighton increasing the town's contribution at a town meeting. The person mentioned in that article is retired police officer Edward Pierce. So Mrs. Sampson is in this motion, but we may have to correct this appointment once we clarify Mr. Pierce, to find out if it is Mr. Pierce at this point in time.
We have to add Susanna Medeiros as an alternate member as well.
Can we put hold on the Insurance Advisory Committee as a whole and then come back to it
Okay.
when all of that's figured out? Because I have a couple other questions too.
Okay. I withdraw the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So we will,
We're going to
we'll do
organize
this one at a later date, and, okay, so yeah, I stopped at the alternate there, so, okay, well, we'll come back to that one. Mr. Chairman, I move that the following individuals be appointed to the IT Committee: Jennifer Louise, Jocelyn Tavares, and Sean Cronin.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Land Use Committee: James Reddy, David Neely, Susanna Medeiros, Jessica Daly, James Aguirre Jr., David Eckerson, ad hoc member Thomas Ferry.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Glenn Hathaway to be local building inspector.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot about this, and I apologize to the public. Wasn't he just as an assistant inspector?
Well, my question is, since we have a building commissioner and a building...
What's the difference?
So there is a difference.
Yeah.
As a local inspector, he acts in that capacity under the state jurisdiction.
Sure.
He now has been certified as a building commissioner. So I'd like him also to be available to assist me in my absence in commissioning duties.
So that's
And
where
a
the
local
local
inspector,
building inspector
and a local
comes in.
building inspector cannot do that. Cannot act in my capacity as a building
But
commissioner.
the assistant can.
Can, that
Okay,
is
so
correct.
it's more important
That
for
is
him to
correct.
be the assistant than
That
the
is
worker.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher McGee to be the Municipal Coordinator Right to Know
I'm going to
Officer.
step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. Did you have any?
I don't know what this does either. Is this relative to like a Freedom of Information Act, or I've never heard of something like this?
I think it does have something to do with public information, but it's not the same as what the town clerk is.
Okay.
All right, but this was another position that, I'm not sure what the history is, but I know it's been around for a while.
Yeah, we do this every
And
year.
there's
I
a,
remember
well,
this
there's a note here that says fire chief, and I don't know if there's like a correlation with what a fire chief does to this, but I mean, I can
It
just.
may be the connection through the emergency management or the disaster
and-
committee when it
and
was used to be called that.
Speaking, you know
I
what,
think so.
okay,
I
okay.
think that's what it's related to.
Information.
to the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Further discussion? Hearing none. Sir?
Yes.
Mr. Commissioner?
I believe that those appointments may contradict what the state jurisdictions are with respect to dissemination of information during a disaster. So this might be a good one, if you may, table until we get more information.
Or you can just remove.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, did you second that?
I did.
Okay, if you withdraw your second, I'll withdraw my
Yep,
motion.
I'll withdraw my second on that
And I
motion.
withdraw my motion, so we'll put a hold on that.
Thank you
Yeah.
both.
Good to know.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Attorney David Gay to be the town's municipal hearing officer.
I am going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Susanna Maderas to be the Municipal Liaison to the Ethics Commission.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
The next group of individuals are for the Open Space Committee. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Open Space Committee. Ellen Bidlack, Jessica Daly, Joseph Tomakin, David Rosa, Dennis Govani, Nelson DeMello, Ed Pollock, Chantal Crystal Rocha.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Susanna Maderas, parking clerk.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Nancy Goulart, Personnel Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Christopher Costa, Plumbing Inspector, and Ed Majewski, Assistant Plumbing Inspector.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. I actually have one question for you, Mr. Commissioner. Is Christopher Costa a former resident of Dighton?
He's not.
So it's a different one.
Somerset,
Okay.
but he's a stone's throw away. He was
Okay.
just on the other side of the bridge off Pleasant Street.
I knew a Christopher. I asked because I knew a Christopher Costa. I was wondering if he was back in town. Thank you. It's okay. Further discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Robert McDonald, Chief of Police.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Congrats, Chief.
The following individuals are appointments to the Police Department, and this list of names are patrolmen. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following Police Department patrolmen: James Duddy, Ryan Richards, Jason McGovern, Stephen Ferreira, Rachel Rose, Todd Kazuski, Michael Marshall, Christopher McGann, Nicholas Barros.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Congrats, officers.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint the following individuals, sergeants in the Police Department: George Nichols Jr., David McGuirk, Sean Cronin.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following individuals be appointed to the Police Station Building Committee: Joseph Pacheco, Dennis McGee, Charles A. Rodriguez, Paul Jolly, Sean Cronin, Michael Mazetas, and ex officio consultant Robert McDonald.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
This next one, I don't know why this is on here.
Yeah, we don't need to do procurement liaison.
No.
Okay.
All right, so. Chairman, I move that we appoint Susanna Maderas, Public Records Access Officer, and Pamela Waller, Assistant Public Records Access Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following reserve police officers: Timothy O'Leary, John Meadows, Jared Jackson, Joseph Dupont, Alora Brock.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Sanitation agent, isn't that part of Mr. Pilling's position? All right, so there's no
Is
appointment
this
on
one we
that.
don't need to fill?
We should just,
Okay.
All right,
do you
so,
want to remove this, and then it would just be absorbed by Mr. Pill, like, what, that position?
or should
keep
we
it on the
appoint
list.
Mr. Pilling, the sanitation agent, so he's doing it?
That's part of the health
Right.
agent though, right?
It is.
I'm not certain, I don't know that there's any enforcement actions that would require.
Okay, he does the Title V's anyhow.
Right, I would think so.
Okay,
If you find something out, we'll be happy to.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to go back. Was he appointed as an agent for the Board of Health?
Yes.
Then you should, you're fine.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
all right, so
We're
that
removing
one's
this,
off.
removing this from the appointments list. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Raymond White to be sealer of weights and measures.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
The next group of individuals are listed under the Soil Conservation Commission. We call ourselves the Soil Board. Is this the same thing?
Yeah.
Are we a commission or a board?
The bylaw, I read it once. I had the same question, actually. The bylaw does say board, but I've only ever known it as the Soil Conservation Commission.
Oh, I read it as soil board, and it's stuck in there now as soil board, that's what I've been calling it.
Okay.
We can still call ourselves the Soil Board.
The commission sounds
Well, I
very
think if that's
official.
what the bylaw says, then we should make that designation. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Soil Board, otherwise known as the Soil Conservation Commission.
AKA.
Robert Mullen, Brett Segraffis, Charles Mello, Nancy Goulart, Thomas Ferry, alternate member James Aguirre Jr.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. I just wanted to note, I think we have 2 seats to fill on this.
Well, one seat will be filled inadvertently
third?
once the
Okay, so
Board
one.
of Selectmen.
All right, so we have 1 vacancy on that. Okay. Further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Roger Duart and William Perry, special police officers.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Peter Benvey to be our representative to Serpent.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Stormwater Committee: Todd M. Pilling, Thomas Ferry, William Frenette, James Aguirre Jr., Nancy Goulart, Thomas Pyers. We made a little change there. Thomas Pyers as the Planning Board representative. He was the Board of Health representative when Mrs. Backey served on the committee. So what they did was they changed the title so that Thomas Pyers is the Planning Board representative and Mr. Pilling is actually the Board of Health representative.
So we'll eliminate, okay, I see what we did
So
there.
we don't need to find somebody to serve
From
in
the
that
Board of
capacity.
Health.
We've got enough individuals, yes.
And no need to fill a vacancy?
No, we have 7 members.
Perfect. If I didn't step down in second, I'm gonna do that now. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
I know what you mean, because a couple of times I thought, did I vote? Because I'm reading ahead and I'm trying to follow this. I voted for all of them, just so everybody knows. And, quite frankly, as we read through these, we have many names listed, but only certain ones are up, their terms are up, and we're doing appointments. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant when I'm reading these. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Thomas Ferry, Superintendent of Insect Pest Control.
I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Mark Duffy to be the Taunton River Stewardship Council representative from Dighton.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Mary Hathaway to be the tax possession custodian.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Alice Souza to the Taxation Aid Committee for a 3-year appointment.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Cahal O'Brien to the TIF Review Board.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. We don't have anyone else we need to vote on the TIF Review Board?
You do, actually. There's, it's under 6D. I had mistakenly told you that you had already voted to appoint these individuals when you actually never made the motion. We had discussed it, but it's supposed to be, I need to be on there too.
Are you willing to
Okay,
amend your motion?
so, I will add to the motion,
Yeah, I need to be on there too. Oh, no, it's,
in addition to Cahal O'Brien, this motion includes Peter Roach, David Derosa, and Mallory Arnstein.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
thank you. I will be back one more time when I find one more member. I'm exploring the sewer commission right now, and they meet later this month to make their determination, but I thought it would be wise to have this, a representative from the sewer commission there
Okay.
in it, so, to
All
be
right.
continued.
Further discussion. Thank you, Madam Administrator.
Thank you.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Sarah Larue, Tobacco Control Agent, and Marilyn Edge, Tobacco Control Coordinator.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Linda Mccarran, Assistant Town Accountant. That's a 1-year appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to step down and
See,
second
I know
that
what you-
motion.
I got a little nervous
know what you
there. I'm
mean.
like, what did Linda do?
You're reading ahead and it's like, where am I here?
Miss
Sorry,
McCarran, you are
folks.
doing a fantastic job. I apologize.
It's just us that's having a problem.
It is. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Hearing none, and I assure the town she is doing a fantastic job. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Jennifer Louise, Town Accountant, for a 3-year term.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Good work, Accountant Department.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Gay and Gay PC Town Council for 3 years.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Myrna D. Santos, Town Historian.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Donald Hershey, Veterans Agent.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Zachary Karen, Kenneth Pacheco, to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and these are 3-year terms.
And Mr. Pacheco is an associate member. And I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
What does that mean?
I'm an associate member.
That's what it says here. I didn't think so.
No,
I didn't remember you
they're
being
full
one.
members. And,
It's me, Bob Adams, and Greg Logan, are the full members together, 3 members.
Oh, the others. Okay,
So-
I understand.
all right, so,
Zachary Karen is an associate member.
Yep.
all right, let me.
So
let
it's
me- let me,
opposite.
Right,
Let me
it's
correct that.
Jason Quinn, is he? I know, really. Is Jason Quinn an associate?
Associate member, and Tim Ryan.
And Tim Rhodes, okay. Oof.
And just point of clarification, Zachary is spelt with an A.
Oh.
So it's Zachary. Just, it needs to be correct. on
Mr.
this
Quinn
paper.
is an associate?
Yes.
What does that mean?
We have 3 members, we have 3 associate members. The way Joe Pacheco's on the board for years, everybody has an opportunity to vote on different cases. We pick 3 members, we don't limit it just to the members themselves. Everybody attends the meetings, everybody has input, and they can be a voting member.
Okay.
And that's so if someone is absent, the other member is well-versed and can fill.
Usually the members of the office of the local position.
Just to clarify, he's not up for appointment, but Robert Adams, Gregory Logan, and you,
Are the members.
you're the members. Everyone else is an associate. Okay.
So when you need a supermajority, how many is that? Just the 3?
Just 3.
Okay.
40Bs, and any decision that we make, we pick, the clerk picks 3 members.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to correct the motion I made so that it will read Zachary Karen, Associate Member to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Kenneth Pacheco, Member, Zoning Board of Appeals, and these are 3-year appointments.
I'm going to, again, step down and second that motion. Discussion. And thank you, Mr. Pacheco, for clarifying. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint James D. Aguirre Jr., Zoning Enforcement Officer.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
I'm sorry, so what's the difference between this and the Selectmen's agent?
A big difference.
Yeah.
So there are 2 sets of bylaws in town,
Yeah.
I'm aware. The zoning bylaws can only be enforced by an entity outside of the zoning board. It's always the building commissioner. With the general bylaws, some of the bylaws are enforceable by the Board of Selectmen. So that's why I act as an agent for the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I can also act in the capacity that the Selectmen ask for anything they want done under their jurisdiction. So,
We appreciate you taking those calls, Mr.
He
Commissioner.
sounds like another Tom Ferry.
He's on the correct set.
You got a lot of hats.
Thank you very much.
I counted.
I know, I wonder how many Tom has. I'd like to see this in the link.
I have a question. Is there anyone else on the list of appointments that assist you with zoning enforcement? Does
No.
anyone have that?
there is not. Typically, my assistant can act in that capacity, but I suppose I would only encourage or support that if something happened to me where I was incapacitated.
I agree with that, that's
Yeah.
slippery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, if you were on sick leave, the assistant building commissioner could
Right,
be
and
in zoning
I would
enforcement.
write a memo to the selectmen to appoint him as either
Okay.
temporary CEO or
Okay.
assistant CEO.
Okay, all right.
But as Ms. Madam Arnstein, town administrator, would tell you, it's good to have one person as a zoning enforcement.
I agree.
Because zoning can be interpreted in different ways, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we appreciate it. I know it's not a fun job, I'm sure. All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes.
And the last list, so if anybody fell asleep, we're almost through. And we're going to get back to the rest of the business. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following individuals to the Policy Review Board. Why is 0 listed as a term? These are one-year appointments, aren't they? Oh, okay. Just to see if we're still awake and are reading these, okay. These are one-year appointments to the Policy Review Board. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint the following to the Policy Review Board: Colleen Bork, Christopher Reddy, Jocelyn Tavares, Christopher McCann, and Mallory Arnstein.
I'm going to,
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we skip down to 6E, appointing Paul Reed to the Policy Review?
Yes,
Board?
and,
Oh, yeah,
and I also
absolutely.
add Paul Reed to the Policy Review Board.
I'm going to step down and second those 6 nominations. You're very welcome. Thank you for that
Is the
catch.
board filled, or are we still waiting?
That will be filled. I was just waiting on him, so I'm going to
Great.
wait till after town meeting, but we will get started.
Okay, very good.
Good work on that.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Colleagues, can we call like literally a 2-minute recess? All right, Cable, I just need 2 minutes. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, no problem.
That's because Karen is like extraordinary. Yeah.
I remember the first time we did this, we did it on that paper that's 16 by something. Talk about trying to get through that. It was, and besides the paper was so huge, but it was, the way it was laid out, it was needed. I mean, it was like,
This one was smaller than normal, so.
the good thing is we don't have a lot of vacancies. We lost our public for the most part.
I know. Well, we wiped them out at town meeting.
Okay, so under 6D&E, we're all done
We're
with
all
those?
done, yep.
Okay, very good.
We were multitasking tonight. We're so efficient.
Remember when we first met with you, and I said, I'm an integral part of town government, I
Yes.
carry many appointments?
Yes. I just saw it today.
I think Sue's one ahead of you.
Is she one?
One.
I think
had
Tommy
some
and-
last year because I was like,
Ooh,
oh my God.
we should talk about this tomorrow at the department head meeting.
I think Tom Ferry has the most, because we just appointed him to a couple of committees more recently.
Is it only appointments or would it be elected capacities?
Total
as well?
titles, everything.
Total titles.
Everything.
We should figure this out. It's like Office Olympics. Whoever has the
Well,
most
when I did
Big
the,
cheese.
Until tomorrow.
For one more day.
when I did the anniversary book, I mentioned Mr. Ferry as, I think, the man with the most titles, and I listed him. But there's been more since then.
Well, we just gave him a new one today.
And he's been, we created the Stormwater Committee because we had to. He's on that. And plus this other one,
Yeah.
And then he became a sewer commissioner. So that's just
Yeah,
in the
I'm
last
looking
6
for the top
months.
title.
Yeah.
See, I'm just making a point.
so the double doors that Mr. Ferry is gonna need is now turned into a great big barn door.
Right.
To list his titles.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that.
So we said you can
We
scratch
entertain
off
them with our wit.
C, D, and E. Excuse me, 6 D and E, because we took care of those.
Perfect.
So we can take breaks like that.
Good to know. All right, so still under old business, we're gonna move on to the Board of Health request to write off transfer station invoices. I'll just read the correspondence that we received from our treasurer/collector, Mary Hathaway. She wrote that she had reviewed the list of outstanding bills from the Board of Health in regards to the transfer station with the deputy collector. Since the list did not have any addresses and minimal information on it, the deputy actually had no way of knowing who these specific bills belong to. And since the bills are so old and it's such a minimal amount of money, just so the public knows, the total is $1,682. They should be simply written off. So that is the correspondence we received from our town treasurer collector.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the recommendation.
I'm going to step down and
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It says Board of Health, but actually it's the treasurer collector, correct? Because they turned it over to her. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation of the treasurer collector and write off old invoices for the transfer station in the amount of $1,682.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion.
And let me just add, and the reason is they're uncollectible.
Fair reason. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. And at this time, we're going to move to a status update on 140 Center Street. Mr. Commissioner, I yield the floor to you, sir.
I know I missed the last couple of meetings, and I believe Selectman Goulart has kept you up to date on the Center Street property. So if I'm repeating, my apologies, but the parties in control of the property filed for injunctive relief to halt my demolition. We went to court, and the court has made a judgment in our favor, so I will be moving forward with demolition. That will happen next week. So there'll be some activity on Center Street starting as early as Tuesday, and it will probably last into the weekend. So we're going to try to be as least disruptive as possible with school. I wanted to wait until school was out, but I can't wait. Once I received order from the judge, we need to move forward, so.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, did you have anything else?
No, that's fine.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr.
Oh, well, you might as
Commissioner.
well stay there.
Yeah, you're next, yeah.
That's what I thought, that's
Yeah.
what I thought, so.
I just meant on this issue. All right, we'll move on to Old Town Hall and the air conditioning unit. Mr. Commissioner, this is for you. Selectman Goulart.
So what you have before you today, finally, is a bid for installation of an air conditioning unit in the lower level only. And there's a delay in bringing this before you because, as you heard tonight, Kevin Smith is the assistant electrical inspector. He is the one who submitted the bid. I had trouble getting anyone else to bid on it because no one can beat Mr. Smith's prices. And I say that because Mr. Smith has also done work on 2 other town projects in town where he was the low bidder. So he's a manufacturer's rep for the units, and he's given the town a very good price, for obvious reasons. He's also a resident. But then I also wanted to have the paperwork under the suggestion of a town administrator filed with the town clerk because he is a municipal employee. So I was finally finished up yesterday, so it's before you today, hopefully for your approval. I know Mr. Pacheco's here in the audience. I know Mr. Smith installed the units at the...
And he's very reasonable with us as far as price goes also.
Right.
Oh, at the Winslow Davis house?
Yes,
Right.
it was town monies, CPC
Right.
monies.
And he was also the low bidder on the Segregated Schoolhouse, which that article didn't have action at the town meeting, but he was also low bidder on that. So I guess the word is out that you're not going to beat his price, so. And his price is very, very reasonable for installing that. And that's also a high efficiency wall-mounted unit. I would just ask for your approval.
So the total amount is $4,100?
Yes.
The whole thing?
Yes.
The lower level?
Yes, the
Wow.
lower level, yes. And that's also a heat pump, so it also will produce heat. So the other reason it hasn't been a priority is the weather hasn't cooperated. We haven't needed AC, so, but yeah, it's time to get it done. Just for clarification, the only thing it doesn't include is the electrical for that, because our town electrician will supply the electricity for that. Okay?
Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Commissioner, thank you very much.
Before we act on this recommendation, I'm looking at the Form 268A 20C. This is a little different from the Ethics Commission form that I had referred to on a couple of occasions.
The appearance of that form?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what the difference is, he filed this because he is an appointee, an employee of the town.
Yep.
And this is disclosure by special municipal employee. The first thing we have to do is appoint him as a special municipal employee. Then we can act on the bid, okay?
I'll
So,
accept the
Mr.
motion.
Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Kevin Smith, a special municipal employee of the town of Dighton.
I'm going to happily step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the bid to supply and install a complete hyperheat single-zone Mitsubishi mini split heat pump air conditioning system to New England Energy Concepts at the bid price of $4,100.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. All right, we can all agree everybody deserves AC and heat, right? Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner.
Before we move on, I just thought of something else
Sure.
we need to do at a future meeting. Because of the number of people that we have appointed that have multiple titles, positions, whatever, anyone who receives a stipend, a salary, or any kind of monetary compensation from the town of Dighton, and also serves on multiple committees, even if they're unpaid, needs to be appointed as special employees. So we need to make a list of those who receive some form of compensation. And the reason I bring this up is because I had to be designated a special employee when what was the last thing I did? I think it was to write the anniversary book. And at the time, when I started it, I was a member of the Finance Committee and received a stipend. If I had not been paid that stipend, I wouldn't need the designation. And I did call the Ethics Commission to get a ruling and told them all the titles that I held. Because we had bridge projects, I was the ADA officer and the EEO officer, and we added the book, and I forgot what else there was. And when I called, they just focused on, do you receive any money from the town of Dighton? I said, I get a stipend as being on the FinCom. They said, then you need to be appointed a special employee. So I made the request of it. I know at the time it was Selectman Cronin, I think Pyers, and Menges, and they did appoint me. So I'm thinking tonight, when the list is put together, where a person's name and all the titles, if they receive any kind of compensation, at a future meeting, we should just appoint the following individuals as special employees of the town. Just to be safe, because that's what they told me to do.
How do you
I
feel?
have, actually, I printed it because I knew this comes up all the time. It's a little tricky. So I'm just going to refer to my notes on that. There is caveats that sometimes it doesn't apply. So I don't want to speak out of turn, that's all I'm going to say, and I'll just verify that. But we'll bring this up at a next meeting. I have my little notes here.
When I came to the meeting and asked to be appointed, they told me I didn't have to, and I said, I called the Ethics Commission because I had done every 2 years you're supposed to do the training. And when I did the training, I kept looking at it and saying, where do I fall? And they said, absolutely. And again, it was tied to that small stipend. So I think it's just safe to do it so that there won't be a question.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
To be continued.
Yep.
Thank you.
More appointments? No. And we don't have to list all the appointments. We
Yeah.
just say the person,
names and-
special employee.
All right.
Yep.
We'll do it as a block. I like this
Exactly.
block
We're
route.
appointing we designated the following individuals as special employees of the town of Dighton. And certainly, people like Mr. Aguirre, Mr. Ferry, and you got titles, Sue's got them, so it's just better to have it on the record.
I agree. All right. We're going to move on to new business. Before we get into the new business, we already did A and B. So can we?
So I wanted to say
Sure. Yes, Mrs.
that I
Brady.
was reviewing that casual voting and we have one omission to the patrolman recommendation.
Okay.
We omitted patrolman Greg Steen.
I was just going to say, right when before you said it, it hit me.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Greg Steele to the position of Police Department Patrolman.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? We saved the best for last. Officer Steele.
Oh my God.
Went to high school with him. Good kid. Good guy. And good police officer.
So, Mr. Steele, if you passed out and somebody revised you, you are being
You're still employed. No, I should have picked up on it too. So we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We're moving on to road cut permits for Columbia Gas. The first one is for 165 Forest Street. I'm just going to briefly read this. They're requesting permission to excavate for gas maintenance repair at 165 Forest Street with all necessary appurtenances. The type of work is abandoned gas service at Main. It is a 3-foot by 5-foot road cut that will be made, and this is from Integration Center.
You mean Columbia Gas?
I'm just talking about who sent it. It is from Columbia
okay,
Gas,
okay,
correct?
all right. That's who's at that location, okay.
Should we do them together? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you,
Oh,
if
okay.
you read them,
I'll keep
I'll do
going.
them all together.
All right. The next request is for permission to excavate for gas maintenance repair at 130 Center Street with all necessary appurtenances and the type of work is to abandon gas service at Main. It will be a 3-foot by 5-foot road cut.
That's gonna be Aggie property.
That's the Kratos.
Oh, okay, very good.
And the last request is, again, a request for permission to excavate for gas maintenance repair at 2308 Pleasant Street with all necessary appurtenances. And the type of work is to replace a service line due to a poor pipe, and a 3-foot by 5-foot road cut will be made.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the following requests for road cut permits requested by Columbia Gas. 165 Forest Street, 130 Center Street, 2308 Pleasant Street.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Correspondence. Mrs. Brady, do we have any correspondence? All right. And it's after the town meeting, so that's a good sign we didn't get any correspondence.
It ain't
We do
over
need to
till it's
talk
over.
about- This isn't your first rodeo on that. All right, so we're going to move to announcements at this time. Bulky item pickup has been scheduled for the week of June 11th through June 15th. Tags are available for purchase at the Selectmen's office, and the rate sheet is still available on the Board of Health webpage. The Friends of the Dighton Public Library will be holding the Meet the Candidates Night on June 11th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Dighton Middle School Auditorium. Public is welcome and encouraged to attend. The Dighton Historical Society is holding the Strawberry Festival on June 23rd, 2018, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be hosted by Under the Sun Farms at 1050 William Street. That's the Winslow Davis Museum, correct?
No, this is.
No, it's the Steen,
Oh, it is Under the Sun Farms. Whew.
formerly Reed Brothers.
Got you. There will be strawberry shortcakes. I'll be there. Live music and vendor. You could have stopped at the strawberry shortcakes. So
Free pony rides. Free pony rides.
nice.
Free
Free
pony
pony
rides.
rides. So you're gonna add that in the
Forget
marketing.
that. They're not gonna let you,
Oh no, they're definitely not gonna break the horse.
if you get those Icelandic horses, then he can
Something
ride.
strong and durable. Okay. The special town election is slated for June 28th, 2018 at the Dighton Elementary School from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We also discussed there will be the Cruisin' for a Cure. I believe it's this Saturday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that's right out here, correct?
Behind Town Hall.
Behind Town Hall. I'll be there. I hope to see everybody there. Two important pieces of information. There will not be a Board of Selectmen's meeting, even though we are on schedule. It is scheduled for next week. We will not be having it because we are going to be at the annual town meeting, which is going to be continued on Wednesday, June 13th, 2018, promptly at 6 p.m. in the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School, Freudian slip there. Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School Auditorium. Again, 6 p.m. Wednesday, June 13th. Did you have any announcements, Selectman Goulart?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Chairman,
Yes,
was that car show on Saturday or Sunday? I thought it was.
It's Sunday the 10th.
Sunday the 10th. Excuse me, I said, thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
He's
Someone's.
thinking about that
Yeah.
shortcake, I can tell.
So again, the Cruisin' for a Cure will be Sunday, June 10th, thank you, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. behind Town Hall. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Do you have anything, Selectman Goulart, under Selectmen's reports?
Yes. The past, let me think, 5 days? We had 2 graduations starting Thursday night. We were out here on the field for the Bristol County Agricultural High School graduation. They did a great job. It was the first time that it's ever been held outdoors. It was a great event.
It was. It really was.
It went off well. It was well planned, organized, carried out, and I think the students really, really enjoyed being the first class to be having it outside. And Mother Nature was very cooperative. But she got us the next night because the Dighton Rehoboth graduation was held inside, and it was split between the main ceremony was in the gymnasium, and they had a screen set up in the auditorium. Besides being inclement weather, it was very warm. It was very well attended. I think all the parents and relatives that wanted to be there were accommodated. I enjoyed going. Every time I go to a graduation at DR, it brings back a lot of memories, having been in class of 61. So that was very enjoyable. And then, for 2 days, we had the Cow Chip Festival, and as a member of the Stormwater Committee, Mr. Ferry set up a table so that I could give out the handouts we had that were created by the committee members. We had tote bags, and we had that contained the jar lid openers that had slogans relative to what individuals can do around their own homes and the responsibility of everybody for stormwater. And there was a brochure that was put together by the committee, printed at Bristol Plymouth very inexpensively. And we also had a supply, which very quickly ran out, of crossword puzzles for older students that Mrs. Brady had printed for us. And it all related to stormwater. You know, they'd give you a list of words, and you had to answer the questions and figure out where they belonged on the crossword puzzle. Over the course of the 2 days, and I wasn't here all day long, I think I was here 2 days on Saturday and maybe, 2 hours on Saturday and maybe 3 on Sunday. Of the initial 500 bags that we ordered, And we gave some out at the STEAM Expo at DR back in April, plus what I gave away completely ran out of jar lid openers and puzzles, so I only had brochures and a few bags. When it was over and I counted, we had less than 90 bags from that whole order. And people were very happy and very pleased and very interested in different things that we had in the brochure. So we'll be giving you an update on the Stormwater Committee. We have a meeting coming up in a week and a half. But, so that was very, very good. So a lot of green bags were going around. Karen said she saw a lot of green bags around there. Sunday was a busy day. That's when I gave out most of them. People were very happy.
Well, thank you for that, and thank
So-
you. I hope you'll pass on our thanks to the committee for their work on
I will,
that.
yeah.
It's
It
important.
was very good.
I hope you got those cow chips out of the way, so not affecting the stormwater runoff, so. I actually forgot to mention, and I do apologize, it really should have been said under announcements. I had a very nice conversation with, I think, the current president of the Lions Club. She informed me that not only now are they doing the food bank distribution at Town Hall, they've always done that, at the lower level of Town Hall. They've actually started doing it at Lincoln Village for Lincoln Village residents as well, and it's doing really well. I said it's a fantastic idea, so I'm just making the announcement that for Lincoln Village residents, the food bank distribution is held there as well for you, so you don't have to come to Town Hall necessarily. And I believe they are also looking for helpers. So I volunteered. I'll be there on June 23rd, 2018, from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. So that's a big change. I'll make sure that gets on the website.
What is the date for this month? Because I've heard the 16th and I've heard the 23rd. Is it the third Saturday? Do we know?
Yeah, I believe it is. She told me the 23rd.
Well, the third Saturday is, I believe, the 16th.
Let's find out.
Where's my book? I've seen 2 dates listed. I saw the newsletter that came out from Primetime, and I think it said the 23rd, and yet I'm thinking it's the 16th.
The 16th is the third Saturday.
So I know it'll be out here on the signboard.
Yep.
And this was mentioned the last time, the signboard, the lit signboard, last time I saw it, yesterday, it was in the highway parking lot, highway garage parking lot, telling people that the town meeting has been continued. So thank you, Mr. Ferry, that's great.
Absolutely. All right, we will get the date clarified. The president did tell me June 23rd. She checked her calendar, but we'll clarify and we will notify the public accordingly. Acknowledgements. We have an acknowledgement of an anonymous donation in the amount of $30 to Primetime. This is from Sheila New, Assistant Program Manager. We are pleased to inform you that Primetime has received a donation in the amount of $30. As usual, all donations are turned over to the town accountant and deposited in the Primetime gift and donations account. Should you have any questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to call. Thank you, Sheila.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we acknowledge the donation, the anonymous donation of $30 to the Primetime
I'm
account.
going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes and the ayes have it. Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of the regular meeting of March 21st, 2018, and the Selectmen's meeting of May 15th, 2018, with the Finance Committee.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. And approval of the warrants.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. Number 49A-18, the amount of $91,702.37 payroll. Number 49B-18, in the amount of $361,384.64 accounts payable. And 49C-18, here's the biggie, in the amount of $1,147,992.63, that's for the Dighton Rehoboth, be approved.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Mr. Pacheco, it's like Survivor. You're the only public here. Do you have anything else you wanted to say tonight? All right,
Need
Mr.
an idol.
Commissioner?
Thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to mention, because a few people asked me, what was that all about, even though they were at the meeting. Passed at the annual town meeting was an article for $68,500 for the town to hire engineers to do is it 21E? Is that the number, Jim?
It's a little more expensive.
And what this involves is an inspection of property that Astrazeneca has offered to the town as a gift. They have conducted tests on this property themselves, and the test results were good. However, the decision was made by the board and the town administrator that there were some things in there that we didn't understand. We're not engineers, but the decision was made to ask for funding for further testing. The money was approved at town meeting. Assuming, at this point, if everything comes back fine, there will be an article at a future town meeting asking residents to accept the gifts of land. The land involved does not contain the manufacturing site that was located on Main Street. None of that land or the sludge dump on Richmond Hill are included. What we may potentially accept as a gift is land on the north side of Main Street that connects to town property. And the other property is on Main and Elm, and it consists of the pond behind the dam and the land that surrounds it. So, again, thank you very much for approving it. If everything comes back okay and the engineers tell us it's a good thing to do, this will require a town meeting vote to accept the gift. But rest assured, we are taking every step necessary to make sure we don't acquire any land that may have contamination on it. And the other question was, what are we going to do with the dam? That's a decision that will have to be made by the town before this whole thing is put together for presentation to the town. So that's where we are with that. And you'll be hearing more about this after we get engineering reports.
And you did a fantastic job explaining. There were a couple questions from the meeting floor, but what I wanted to say, one gentleman had asked if we had asked AstraZeneca if they'd pay for the study. No, because the whole point was they didn't want to invest any more money in the land, which was why they were interested in donating it to the town. So.
And they also did a 21E. It was because we're being extra careful in consultation with other town officials that we felt the wise thing to do is to do a little more, take another look and do a little more testing. The total area that's being offered to the town is roughly 70 acres. It is in a tax classification where they're not paying high taxes on it because it's not being used for manufacturing or commercial purposes. And of the 70 acres, roughly 45 acres is that pond. And the reason that we are seriously looking at it is, number one, it would provide open space. Number two, excellent recreational areas. People use the pond for fishing and skating, and I've seen little canoes out there.
All the time.
And also, if we acquire it, it will not be developed because the plan is if the town doesn't want it, they will be looking to commercially market it.
And they've said that.
And I would think house lots around that pond would be very well accepted, wanted. They won't be cheap, but again, the town has this opportunity, so that's what this is all about.
And we will file this under due diligence. So
That's
we're
for
just
sure.
doing our due diligence, as is responsible. We don't want to take on anything, and now the town's liable. So we will keep you all updated. Thank you, Selectman Goulart.
You're welcome.
And at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, I do. And 10, to discuss trade secrets or confidential or proprietary information regarding activities by a governmental body as energy supplier, municipal aggregator, or energy cooperative, if an open session will adversely affect conducting business relative to other entities making, selling, or distributing energy, and I so declare.
And I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Cable, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We will not be returning to open session.
Thanks for your help at town
Thank
meeting.
you.
You were really running around and making sure you got feedback and questions, so thank you very much, Cable, for covering that also.
Absolutely. I can honestly say it was an honor and a privilege to be able to hear the questions that were posed by the residents at town meeting. So thank you. And have a great night, everybody.